And now, Giant Sports Talk Live. Here are your hosts, Eric and Glenn.
Welcome to Giant Sports Talk Live. Hopefully everyone had a great weekend. Here we are Monday night doing it all over again. Lou is with us today. Lou, what is up? You're back from Las Vegas. You survived 12 days.
I am. It's good to be back. And I heard Glenn is down in Mexico and might not be able to make it. So Eric said, hey, do you mind filling in? And I'm here. Why not? Where else would I want to be?
Exactly. There you go, man.
Now that I'm back in the real world.
Hey,
and to tell you the truth, I was on the road, so I haven't really had a chance to talk about the amazing Game 7. Also, who I met in Las Vegas, and I asked him what I thought about the World Series. In case you guys didn't hear, I ran into Reggie Jackson. I ran into Reggie Jackson, asked him about that. And, I mean, of course, I've been following you guys, and then, of course, now that I come back, a new manager, a lot of stuff going on with the Giants, and I'm glad to be on it so I can give you guys a little my opinion about Tony, my opinion about the Giants. But before I do anything, I do want to say two things. I do want to congratulate the Los Angeles Dodgers on winning the title. Hey, they did it in one of the most amazing World Series that we're talking about for a long, long time. And number two, I also want to give praise to the Oakland A's. I still call them the A's because they're not even called the Sacramento A's, so I'll just say the A's. It's not too often that you can bring and finish 1 and 2 in Rookie of the Year. So that's sort of something you got to acknowledge. Hey, pretty unbelievable. The thing about the Giants, we always complain, we never have a great farm system, but the A's proved they could do it. So I want to just commend some of our competitors because, hey, guys, what we got to do is see how are they accomplishing it and maybe try to steal a few tricks. Obviously they've been listening to Giant Sports Talk Live, taking tips from Eric and Glenn. And, obviously the A's, since they left, they don't really have an A's feature. They figured out. So, hey, you got, if we're going to be fans, we also got to acknowledge championship material. So, before I forget, I just wanted to bring that up. And last but not least, I know I said 2-3. Beside Eric, if there's any veterans out there, tomorrow's Veteran Day. Thank you for your service. Thank you for everything.
There you go. Awesome. Perfect. Thanks, Lou. Much appreciated, man. That's awesome. Again, same thing, same sentiments for me. All the fellow veterans out there, hey, tomorrow's our day. Appreciate that, Lou. Awesome. I tell you what, man. What are you talking about, Alex? Come on. I congratulated the Los Angeles Dodgers. I did. Come on, man. He's busting my balls. That's what he's doing. Anyway, hey, guys, real quick. StreamYard did something new where you could stream both vertically and in landscape, right? Well, what happened was it brought up two separate YouTube upcoming videos. So I was like, man, I don't want to be broadcasting on two on the I mean, it's going to be doubled up on every show. It's like I deleted the wrong one. So we went live on the one that I had deleted. So everyone was hanging out. So I had to close everything out, restart it. So that was the issue. That shouldn't happen again. So, but anyways, but Luke, great point. Oh, we'll get into it a little bit later. I want to hear what Reggie Jackson had to say. That's quite interesting. And you talked about it. Oh my gosh, dude, that Game 7. Oh my gosh.
I think, Eric, one of the things about, and again, I think it was just called Playoff Sports Talk Live. Because remember, I said,
postseason Sports Talk Live.
Right. It's been so long, but if you listen to the preview, And this is what makes this show unique. If you listen to the preview with Marty Lurie, we probably gave up 5 different points. They all came through. And one of the things I bought up, as well as you, Eric, is there's always going to be someone you haven't heard of who probably wasn't on the roster before that's going to be a superstar. That happened with a reliever who we thought was a starter that might have been a bust, early in the season. And in the World Series, as soon as we thought we knew what we were doing, it was the complete opposite. Because that Game 7 had everything. But really, when you think of the whole series, it was so unpredictable. I mean, it was just amazing. And I thought it was one of the greatest World Series that I've seen
ever
as a sports fan without the Giants being in it. Now, when the Giants are in it, you're obviously a little bit biased. But this thing had everything. And if you saw, Game 7 was the highest. Did I see that right? It was something like a 27-something share.
Altogether, 50 million people watched, right? Between Canada, Japan, and the United States.
And I think that's something that's only going to help baseball. And now with the award shows and free agency, I think what baseball is doing is they're sort of doing what the NFL did. The NFL basically had 1 month off, but they made every single month important when the season was going. And I think that's something that baseball sort of fell behind on, just being the pastime. They've tried to do good things, but with this World Series, it's got to help, and it will be something good. Now, again, in February, we're going to have the World Baseball Classic, which is really going to bring it up. And, I just hope, with the upcoming season, the Giants can get a competitive team and do what they have to do.
There you go, Lou. This is going to be towards you. $5 from Fuji. Thanks, Fuji. Lou.
Oh, did Eric freeze?
Reardon won its first WCAL title. Oh, there we go. Congrats on your SI Wildcats beating La Sacred Heart Irish in the first Bruce Mahoney Trophy game.
Yeah, so, the thing is, Reardon has built a powerhouse in all sports. I think, I'm a big SI fan. I went to the basketball game last year. I was embarrassed. They were down 36 going to the fourth quarter at home. And the football game, it's bad. And I don't like somebody when you get beat 54-0 and they still want donations. They're out of their mind. But, hey, SI, I wish them the best. But right now, sports, they're not doing good in anything. So if you beat Sacred Heart, that's not really saying anything, just because they're sort of a level below us when it comes to sports, But Reardon right now, hey, I'll give it to Reardon right now. They're sort of like the Dodgers. They're getting better athletes, and you got to appreciate it. Hey, it's their first. Now, again, it's their first football WCL championship, which means it's not the city championship between SI and Sacred Heart. It's the first WCL, so you got to praise it to them. They were more of a basketball powerhouse. And if you would have said 10 years ago, Reardon's going to beat the likes of some of the huge people down south, Sarah, St. Francis, and, some of the other ones, you got to give it to them. And as I always say when we bring up Reardon, the principal of Reardon, his name is Reardon. So you got to respect them. And, hey, they run the city right now. So congratulations to the Reardon Crusaders.
There you go. All right, guys, today's topic, this is what we're going to get into, and we'll get into some of this other stuff a little bit later in the show. We already talked about potential starting pitcher free agents. Now let's talk about what the Giants could do as far as a trade. And the reason why I want to bring this up, and I was going to bring it up anyways, but it makes it even a little bit more important for the simple fact that Greg Johnson, I don't know if you saw this, Lou, in your travels in Las Vegas, he came out and said on a whole bunch of different. He said it on Tim Kawakami, he said it with John Shea, and he said it with Susan Slusser. They don't want to spend a lot of money on a starting pitcher. In other words, they don't want to spend $100 million plus and do a long term. Okay, and I understand, I get it, but look. One of the biggest issues with the Giants is going forward for this year is you're going to have to get another starting pitcher. Who is that going to be? How can you go out there and get a good starting pitcher? Well, let's talk about what the Giants could do as far as a trade is concerned. Now, look, I see already in the chat, people are talking about players and also and bullpen. I don't want to talk about players and bullpen quite yet. We could bandy it about. Don't get me wrong. We could talk about it. but I kind of want to focus on what can the Giants do as far as trading for a starting pitcher. Now, when you do that, you're avoiding having to pay a whole hell of a lot of money right up front, at least I should say. Give them a few more years, right? As far as before you have to pay someone. On the thumbnail, I had a couple of guys. Joe Ryan's got a couple of years of control. Sandy Alcantara's got a few years of control. Wandy Peralta, or not Wandy, listen to me. Freddy Peralta, I'm not sure how many years of control he has. I have to look on how much of years he has when he actually hits free agency. I think he's got a year or two. So again, you got these guys for a couple of years, maybe a year, and then you could decide what you want to do going from there. So again, it's just a way, and then you could put your money into other areas rather than sinking it all in starting pitching. Go out there, go get a closer. And if you want, we could go out there and get a position player. By the way, I'll give you a hint. I put a teaser out there yesterday, Lou, about my hype video. You know, every year I do a hype video just to have fun and kick it about. So take that into consideration. It's not going to be a pitcher. No, I hate this damn thing. Greg Johnson said he wouldn't drop a bunch of money on pitching, but he didn't say he would drop a lot of money on a position player. Who will that position player? I'll play it a little bit later, but let's get into this. Lou, what do you think? I mean, we already talked about free agent starting pitchers, and look, some of these guys are going to get a lot of money. Imai, I know there's a lot of talk about Imai. He's getting posted. This kid, you know, he's young. What is he? 27, 29, something like that. But he could be getting quite a bit of money. Of course, the big guy on the block is Framber Valdez. And look, today was the first day of the general meetings. I'm sorry, the general manager meetings. And there's reports that Framber Valdez is at the GM meetings to talk to teams. So that's kind of interesting to see a player at the GM meeting to kind of feel what's going on here. So, and by the way, Imai, guess who his agent's going to be? He decided to pick Scott Boras. Yeah. Seriously, Lou, when we were looking at the potential free agents for pitching, about 75% are all represented by Scott Boras. So
that's why Scott's the best for the player. You know, if you always notice the top three guys offensively, it's always Scott Boras. You know,
yep.
he's the players love him that he represents. It's everybody else that hates him because he can do whatever he wants because basically he's the monopoly. You know, It's one of those things you can't do anything. And if you want him, you got to follow his rules. And, you know, that's the one thing about him is when he has a guy down to maybe 1 year, sometimes maybe 2, he doesn't care if the guy gets traded. He just cares about them becoming a free agent because that's the dollar signs. And with him, it's always, right now it's 3 years, we're going to make it 5. Right now, if the pitchers are going for 5 years, his non-players, then I'm going 8. Because he can decide. He can do what he wants. And that's why, you know, he's the best for the players. But like I said, everybody hates him. But you know what? It's one of those things, too, that when Bonds played for the Giants, everybody hated him. But him being the Giants, you loved him.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
You know, it's just one of those things, you know.
I hear the same thing with Draymond Green as far as with the Warriors are concerned, right? Yeah. You know, a lot of teams hate him, but he's on the Warriors. And if he was on their team, they would absolutely love him. Exactly. It's just that's how it's going to be. So let's get into this trade business. Now, the Giants don't have a whole heck of a lot to trade, right? I mean, you got some young guys. You got Bo Davidson. You got he's I believe in AA. You got Dakota Jordan, but I don't know if they want to get rid of him. They're calling him the JUCO Bonds or something like that. He's only in high A, right? No, did he get up to high A? I can't remember if he got into high A or not. And of course, the biggest prize, and I don't know if the Giants are going to do this or not, but you got Bryce Eldridge hanging out there as well as far as trade potential, whether or not the Giants do it or not. Look, I'm not here to debate that. I'm just going to say, what can you use to make your team better by moving some pieces around, right? So to get guys, I don't know, to get Joe Ryan, let's talk about Joe Ryan. Do you think it's going to cost him much to get him here? Let me bring up. I'm going to bring up stat.
Eric, here's my point.
Let me hear you.
Do you think Joe Ryan is a difference maker in your mind?
No.
Okay.
I'd say he's a number 3, right?
Yeah. So
maybe
to
a
get
number 2.
someone like him, you're probably going to have to give up a couple guys. So for me,
yeah, that's fair.
I'd rather get someone, I'm not going to say that he's bad, but someone a little bit more dependable and someone more that can make a difference with the Giants. Because to me, if you're going to be trading some of your youth and possible players, maybe someone like Bailey, a Golden Glove, I think too many times in the chat, too many people get caught up. Oh, well, he's a Golden Glover, or he's what's the other terminology that a lot of our guys go, and again, if we get a pitcher, we want to get someone that's going to be equal to Webb or even make Webb better than he might be, because instead of Webb always pitching the ace, if you can get a guy that's equivalent to Webb, maybe the other guy will go against the aces, and Webb being the number 2 would even be a better number 2 than a possible number 1, because he's not always going against the ace. So to me, and I didn't mean to interrupt, Joe Ryan's great. But to tell you the truth, if I'm the Giants and we know what we have to go after, right? Because Bobush said it's not going to us. He's probably going to the Padres or someone like that, all right? So the way the Giants are going to have to get closer to the Padres, Arizona, and the Dodgers, let's just concentrate on our division first, is we got to get someone that's a decision maker. To me, when I look at the list of possible guys, Screwball, we're not getting because it's only going to be 1 year. And we're going to have to give up a lot. And then he's probably not going to sign for us. So you got to go down him. Freddie, sort of my guy that I would get. I mean, I think it's great. And let's do the example between your guy and my guy is I would want Hunter Green. Okay. I know he's got a couple of years more. You might have to give him more. But I think in the long run, Hunter Green is that stopper, that possible player. And when you get Hunter Green and Webb, basically you can then go righty, lefty, righty. Now we're talking 3 guys that can make a difference if we ever get to the playoffs. And as we saw in the playoffs, you really got to have 3, maybe 4 starters. And I think the thing that are going to make the Giants difference, if you did make this move, then you Giants would actually have 3 guys that could pitch 6, maybe 7 innings. Then you don't really need a bullpen like you had to see this year, where guys are going 4 innings and you need a guy to go 5th and 6th inning, another one. You'd have 3 legitimate guys that can probably give you 6 to 7 innings every game. Now the Giants, instead of being, battling for the 3rd wild card, if they can maybe cut down on their strikeouts and get guys that can hit in clutch situations, now we're talking about the Giants are a solid ahead of the Padres. That's sort of what I would look for. So I just wanted to bring that up. But let's start with your guy, what it would take, who we'd have to give up, and then I'll tell you my guy. And let's just see.
Let's take a look at these. Here's Joe Ryan, all right? He's got 641 innings pitched. Sandy's got more. He's got the most. He's got 1,075, almost 1,100 innings. Freddie, he's got 931. All right, ERA is 3.79, 3.65, 3.59. That's okay. That's in today's baseball. It's pretty damn good, man. You got strikeout rates. Freddy Peralta has a higher strikeout rate, followed by Joe Ryan and then Sandy Alcantara. Now, Sandy's numbers dropped a little bit. And here's the thing as far as Sandy is concerned. He's that much more removed from Tommy John now. Now you necessarily don't have to worry about Tommy John anymore with Sandy Alcantara because it's done. He's got he's got a brand new arm. Now, of course, there is some history where people have a double Tommy John, but it doesn't happen quite often. But Joe Ryan, look, let's talk about this. I don't know if it's going to cost a lot to get Joe Ryan. I don't honestly. And again, I don't know where Minnesota would value Joe Ryan. It's gonna, like you said, it's gonna take a few players. And where is Minnesota right now? Are they really? They had a huge sell off. Right?
Yeah, were you surprised they didn't trade him, or were they just maybe asking too much?
Maybe, and that's a possibility.
Like that one name, hey, Joe Ryan's going to be traded. I was shocked that he didn't get traded, especially where starting pitching was at such a high prime. Pitching it seemed like at the trade deadline, I'd never seen it so big. An average guy was bringing 3 or 4 players. So,
and that's the thing is to get Joe Ryan. I don't know if that would cost an Eldridge. Maybe they ask, and I look. They always
and if
start
you don't
high,
give up
right?
Eldridge, who would they be able to give up for a starting pitching like Joe Ryan? Who would the
You see?
Giants really have?
And I
Do you
don't know
think they had to give up one of their major leaguer guys, maybe that we're not talking about, and somebody in the farm?
It's definitely someone in the farm. It may cost a Ramos, because you still got one more year of control with him before he hits free agency. So,
and I definitely think
actually
Joe
before
Ryan,
he hits
you got to
arbitration.
give up. Yeah, you would have to give up a lot more Freddy. You know what I mean? You'd have to give up another player. And then of these three, maybe Joe Ryan is the cheapest. And that doesn't mean he's not the best, but he's probably the cheapest to get. I agree there.
And that's, again, I think Sandy and I think Freddie is probably going to cost you an Eldridge. All right. And look, and those, right, honestly, that may only be the only thing that it costs is one Eldridge. It may not involve a whole bunch of other players. Maybe, who knows? Again, this and what's unique is you got the GM meetings happening today, or started today. So now you got these teams that are talking. And look, they're always talking, but in the GM meetings, usually maybe they're starting to lay something a little bit more solid, a more solid foundation on maybe a trade that's going to happen during the winter here. And again, you got to see where each team is. Minnesota looking to try to quote unquote win now. Giants seem like they're in a better position in winning now than a Minnesota Twins. All right. So what would it cost again to get Joe Ryan? Man, I don't know. I don't think it's going to cost Eldridge. And again, when you want to get a pitching, usually you're giving up hitting. And maybe you have to give up another starting pitcher, maybe another guy with more control. But then again, Joe Ryan has a lot of control as well. And I think that's what's going to cost. What's up, Benji? Is because they got years of control, Lou. That's what makes the price go up a little bit more.
It's valuable. It is. And when a guy's under control, I'm trying to think of the kid's name, the one from Pittsburgh that a lot of guys want.
Schemes.
Below Schemes. I think.
Oh, Jared Jones.
3 or 4 years under control.
Bubba Chandler.
That's why Webb is so good. He still has 3 more years of control at a very minute salary. I think he's making 19, 22, and 24. That's why if the Giants were to ever say, hey, we're going to, we're not as good as we think, they could get probably 3 or 4 solid prospects for Webb, because it's not because of Webb's pitcher, but you'd have him for 4 years. 3 more years, and it would only cost you $60 million. You guys got to remember, some of these guys, their salaries are almost as bad as the NBA players. If you're going to want someone like Schemes or some of these pitchers, when you look at the Dodgers starters, right? I think 1, 2, and 3 were averaging $34 million a year. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Webb, you're getting 2 years for the price of the Dodgers starting pitchers for 1 year. And when you get that, now, if you can get someone like Webb, you have the opportunity where you're saving $20 million a year. That's when you can go get a big hitter, where you're spending $100 million, but really it's only $40 million of your pocket that you can spend. That's why Webb is so valuable. Not that we don't think Webb's a great pitcher, but, Eric's bringing up the point, he's got 2-3 years still going, because here's the other thing. It always seems, I remember when the 2 big 10-year deals for $300 million, people said, are you out of your mind? You're going to pay a baseball player, a third baseman, $300 million. Are you guys aware how cheap it is now?
It's a bargain basement now.
It's a bargain basement. That's why you don't know how it's going to be in 3 years. If there is a lockout, you guys don't know how much baseball is going to be worth after they lock out. Where all the stuff where $30 million in 3 years might be $50 million. So, I just sort of wanted to bring that up because a lot of times we don't really talk about that. And I think years of control is so important and what that brings.
All right, here's Cliff. What's up, Cliff? Hope you're doing well, man. Good to see you in the chat. Said Padres gave up Drew Thorpe, a top 100 prospect, plus 2 other top 10 in the Padres organization for plus Steven Wilson to acquire Cease. Cost would be similar to Joe Ryan. All right, so How many guys did the Giants have in the top 100? I know. Well, we know Eldridge is in there. I can't remember. Someone else made it. But then 2 other in the top 10. Well, who's the top 10? We could bring that up here in a little bit. I bet you it's some guys that we could spare with, because that's what they look at too. They look at your top 10 within your organization, not just the top 100. So maybe there's something there that the Giants can use. And look, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, right, Cliff? I don't think it would be. Now, if you want to go big game hunting, well, then you got Eldridge, because Eldridge is going to fetch a lot. Let's not even. His freaking value is sky high as far as a prospect. It's sky high. He's in the top 15. If I'm not mistaken, he's like 11 or 12 in the top 100 prospect. So this guy could bring back a pitcher plus more. That's quite the possibility.
And someone like Minnesota, it's all about money.
Yeah, it is. And to be honest with you,
that's why. Yeah.
I still don't think for Joe Ryan it's going to cost you an Eldridge. I just don't think. I don't know, but I don't know what the Giants are willing to put together, 4 guys to get one Joe Ryan. I don't know. Sandy Alcantara, that guy. I mean, before he had Tommy John, guy was pretty damn insane. The guy was a workhorse.
Cy
200
Young.
innings. Cy Young, exactly.
He was like a Webb, but he struck out more. Sort of how Webb's doing now. Back then, but he did win a Cy Young, and his ERA was like, wasn't it really close, like to 2 only? And you got to remember that ballpark where they play is not the most friendliest,
No, it's not. It isn't.
Oracle, so it's different. Yeah.
Cliff thinks that Roop. Hey, I would throw Roop in there. Look, I'm not making these guys sound like they're insignificant, but to get someone better, yes, I would trade Roop. I like him. The guy has a lot of potential. But if the Giants want to compete like now, and from all intents and purposes, that's what Buster Posey has said. I don't think he's changed from that. But let's see what happens.
And then Eric, I'm sorry, just for 1 second, guys. We didn't say Webb was going to be traded. We tried to bring why Webb is so valuable because he's still under control for 3 more years. We never even bought Webb up. We were giving an example of some of these guys, what it means and why they're so valuable when they have years of control. So I just want to make sure we're not talking about them trading Webb. What we're trying about is who we could give up to get another frontline pitcher to make our starting 3 the best in baseball. Okay.
And I think you're talking about Rob. Why wouldn't you entertain trading Eldridge? Because you could get more for him. Someone that it could get you the pitcher that you need without spending a shit ton of money. Okay. Now you could use that money that would have gone to a starting pitching and put it towards a position player. So now you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone to a certain extent. Trade Eldridge, go out there and get you a damn good starting pitcher plus some more. Right?
Eric, I have 2 questions for you about Eldridge. Okay, sorry.
Oh, yeah, and that's the thing. And we could talk about that. We don't know who Eldridge is going to be. We know his stock is sky high because he's in the top 15 of prospects. But we'll have to see. What you got, Lou, about Eldridge?
All right, I got a question because I know everyone loves Eldridge. Say he comes back next year and he's average. I'm just saying average, maybe.
Right.
He still has the strikeout problems. Maybe he's 18 homers, but he has 160 strikeouts and he bats 240. Is he still going to be as valuable next year as he is now? Then also, you don't have that chip to use next year because people see, oh, you know what? Maybe he was overhyped. Maybe he's not as good. Again, you guys got to remember, Eldridge isn't like a Will Clark. He's a guy that's very tall, okay? Which, again,
it's more like Brandon Belt, but taller.
Yeah, it might work against him. We don't know. We're just seeing this guy. And the other thing, too, is Giant fans got to remember, we're so hungry to have a prospect within the organization. If you take Webb out of the organization, can you give me a guy that's gone through since in the last 10 years? I mean, what are you talking, Ramos? He's not a game changer. So when you get an opportunity for a guy, really he hasn't proven himself of this, you sometimes got to go for it. It's like this. Yeah, but you know what? Nick Kurtz is a lot different type of player than Eldridge. You know, I mean, you saw Nick Kurtz. He just got Rookie of the Year. Is Eldridge? You think next year he's going to be the favorite to the one? Yeah. So don't compare him. Plus, it's two different leagues. American League and National League are a lot different. He also has a different ballpark. You know, I haven't been to the ballpark since it's now Major League. Eric has. He can tell you it's a smaller thing. The ball flies, you know, and I'm not saying that he's not a great player, but you know, we don't know. I mean, if Eldridge was playing for the A's and the positions were changed just for last year, and they bought Eldridge up a little bit earlier, would he have the same as Kurtz? Would he have been up for maybe Rookie of the Year? Would the Giants have been better? You know, you just don't know. So it's hard. I'm just telling you, don't compare because they're not apples and apples. Kurtz is a great player, guys. You know, I wish he was a Giant, but he's not. But, you know, we just don't know about Eldridge. Kurtz has proven himself. Eldridge still has to. And all I'm saying is we're so locked in on our guys. If you remember last year, we were talking about how great our 4th and 5th starters were. My God, they're going to make our thing how great they are. But nobody's even talking about these guys anymore. They couldn't even get back from the minors. So it's great when they're one of your guys, but sometimes you got to just be realistic. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you got to have some realistic. And look, off season, we get a little crazy, right? We all want the big things. Kenneth says Eldridge might be great or he might just be okay. Kind of what we're saying. There is no guarantee that he will be another Nick Kurtz. That's a fact. That is a fact. Now, I saw, where were you? Was it Troy? Troy Miller. I don't think we need pitching. I want to go after Kyle Tucker. How many Kyle Tucker fans do we have out there? How many people would love to have Kyle Tucker on the San Francisco Giants? Did you hear what Lou, did you hear Jeff Passan said that the Giants may be in on Kyle Tucker? Mike says I'd go for Kyle. Insane Sports says the hell with it. Let's go. He's good, but he's over. Everybody's going to be overpriced, right, Benji? That's the problem with MLB free agency. Always. You're going to always overpay every time. Tucker's overrated. He's not an elite at anything. He's good, though.
He is good. But here's the thing. Good. I know he's a free agent. Don't you think that he had a great year in the Cubs? Don't you think he wants to go back to Chicago?
I don't know.
I could actually see him not going to the Cubs, but I could see him going to the White Sox. Something like that.
Ooh, that would be weird. That would be weird.
I'm just saying.
I tell you what. Again, if you go and trade for a starting pitcher, maybe, just maybe, you have some extra money to spend elsewhere.
And that's what the show's about. I agree.
And there we go. How about that, huh?
He would fit great in our lineup.
He would. He would, man. I tell you, it ain't going to happen because every time I make a hype video, Lou, just so you know, I'm batting 1,000. I'm batting 1,000 on hype videos. Every time I make a hype video for a certain player, he ain't showing up.
It happens.
Oh, my gosh. But no, honestly, would that be awesome if the Giants were able to get, if you had Rafi Devers and Kyle Tucker in the same lineup? And then, here,
each would make a better hitter, the other one.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
This is the thing that I was just thinking about, and I don't know whether the Giants are going to do this or not. It's just my idea. If you go out there, throw a bunch of money at Kyle Tucker, make sure a lot of it's deferred, right, Lou? Because everybody is deferring their money.
Yep.
Then you go out there, go sign Ha-Seong Kim for second base. You sign Ha-Seong Kim for second base. He's a veteran second baseman, and you can have both Koss and Schmidt on the bench. Those guys would be pretty damn good, right? Go out there and sign Devin Williams as your closer. Not going to cost you a whole lot, but he's got the closer mentality. I would be okay with Devin Williams. And then you trade Eldridge to go get a starting pitcher. So there you go. And I got a feeling that you could probably do all that under the CBT. I think you could. I may be wrong, but if you go over it, who gives a shit? It's not our money. But I'm just saying, you could put a pretty decent team together by doing that. And you look, and here's another thing. Max Scherzer's coming to the Giants. I said it in the very beginning, the very first episode for the offseason, Lou. Max Scherzer is going to be a damn San Francisco Giant. And Ken Rosenthal is saying such that it looks like that it's tracking that he's going to be a starting pitcher. So there you go. You trade for a good starting pitcher. Go ahead and sign Scherzer as your veteran. Sign Tucker.
We're not going to have two guys over 40, right? Just one. Am I right, Eric?
Yeah.
Tony's buddy's going to sign for 1 year, but we're not bringing back the other old guy, are we?
Oh, no, I don't think. I think he.
41.
I got a feeling. I think Verlander's going to go somewhere else, and maybe a team that's.
So one's going to replace the other.
So again, we don't know what the Giants are doing. And here's another thing: before we get more into this in trading for starting pitchers, Lou, I said this on Friday. I was getting a little concerned. Giants have yet to announce any of their coaching staff. Zero. Matter of fact, Lou, we've lost two on Friday. Both JP Martinez, the pitching coach, and Alston Garvin. Is it Garvin? I could be mistaken. I think it's Garvin. But the bullpen coach, they both left. JP took a position to be the bullpen coach in Atlanta.
Yeah, I saw that.
And now we went over the weekend, and now we're here on Monday. Monday has now passed. We're at 9:18 p.m. on Monday, and we still don't have a coaching staff. I don't know. Again, it seems a little weird to me. Maybe it's not a big deal, but I would like to have something in place. Jace Tingler supposedly is with the organization, but they haven't announced an official capacity for him yet. All the indications are that he's going to be the bench coach, but they haven't come out and said it. So I'm not understanding why the Giants are.
And Eric, you were a fan of our pitching coach. You thought
I was
did a great job.
I was.
Yeah, so I mean, I understand.
I think it's the reason
now,
why the Giants.
Do you think he left because a new guy in charge, or maybe he's friends with the new manager of the Atlanta Braves, or do you think it was money? Because one of the things we don't really talk about with Buster, and a lot of people say it's not his money. Giants are cheap. But if we're losing pitchers of someone that we think is qualified, that probably should have stayed. I mean, that's where you got to go to Webb and say, hey, Webb, what do you want? You know what I mean? A new manager is more for the whole team overall, but a pitching coach is pretty valuable, as we saw. Like with Rags was a Giant. I mean, the pitching coach and the pitchers are sort of like intertwined, like the big toe. Right, you know what I mean, of the feet. You need one, and he takes care of everybody else. So I think it's one of those things. And I know, but I thought he did a decent job considering what he had. You got to remember, Giants had two guys really out of five, and they made it through. The bullpen wasn't really his responsibility, so I'm a little surprised he left. I'm just hoping he didn't go because of the money, because then we're starting to have a little problem. If Tony wants his own guy, that's fine. But you got to remember, how many years was he here? 2?
Yeah. 2.
Yeah.
2 is the pitching coach, right?
Yeah.
And 24 and 25. And then before that, I think he was in Sacramento, I believe.
So that's all I'm saying. Hey, I wish him good luck with Atlanta. I know they're going for all new blood, and they're concentrating, but still, I think it was more of a surprise. And it wasn't like Tony V got announced last Friday. We're talking
it's
now,
been a while.
coming on a couple of weeks. So
Yeah,
everything's sort of hush hush. So that's really what I'm saying. It's one of those things where, and it's Mel Allen on This Week in Baseball. Not Tony.
Nice.
Yeah. So I just think it's one of those things where it's got to happen soon, because you brought up a great point today. The GM meetings are starting.
Yeah.
People are there. Why do the Giants only have a manager? Now, it might be Buster's looking for somebody else. There's always a lot of stuff behind the scenes. We're just fans. If we don't hear about it, we just don't know.
Yeah,
but it is sort of surprising because, hey, Atlanta's got a manager. As you announced now, they got a pitching coach, a bullpen coach.
They got everybody. They got everybody now. They didn't mess around. They announced Walt Weiss, and a couple of days later, they got Anton Richardson and but I can't remember who the pitching coach was for the Mets. They both went to Atlanta.
I never thought of Walt Weiss as a manager.
And then
the shortstop and a winner too. So
I'm trying to remember who the bench coach was. They announced the bench coach. I can't remember who the bench coach is. They announced him, and then JP is going over to be the bullpen coach. So he kind of took a demotion. Jeremy Hefner, thanks, Mark. He's going to be the pitching coach. JP is going to be the bullpen coach. Walt Weiss is the manager. Anton Richardson, I'm guessing, is going to be the first base coach. I mean, they got it together. They're putting together a staff, and there's nothing. Again, you're putting together something where you have some continuity, so to speak. You're not waiting till the last minute to put everything together. Especially look, I get it. Free agents, they just want to get paid. I get it, and they want to go to a team that's going to be good for whatever their goals are. But don't you want to know who your coaches are going to be? I mean, granted, we're still a good month away before we get to the winter meetings. So, I mean, you got plenty of time, but it's just, I don't understand why there's such a delay when it seems like, hey, we've had over 2 weeks now of knowing who the manager is going to be. You would think you want the team together to get on the same shit of music. Hey, we got a vision, right, of where we want to go and what we want to do. And it just seems a little strange. That's all. Maybe it's
Eric,
nothing.
When does free agency start?
It's already now.
Okay.
But they don't. They wait until the winter meetings to make all their announcements because that's
most of them. Yeah. And then when are the GMs meeting?
Right now. They started today. GMs.
So to me, doesn't that sound like the Giants are already behind the 8 ball?
Seems like it. It seems like a little.
That's all
bit.
I'm saying. It's like. It's just suspicious. But again, with Buster in charge, we have faith in him. Hopefully, you never know with the Giants, because it always seems like this is always a Giants motto. We're always like one step ahead, 2 steps behind. That I just wanted to bring that up.
It's a little weird, man. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a poll. I want to hear what people have to say about this as far as for trading for. Let me put this out here. I just don't. I don't know. It's a little weird. Little weird. I mean, we got Tony Vitello, and look, that was a reach, right? I mean, you want to talk about risk taking? Look, and here's another thing. And we could talk about this a little bit too, Lou, as I'm typing this up. Buster Posey has gone out there and taken quite a bit of risk. He went out there, right? He went out there and traded for Devers. He signed Verlander for a year, right? He hired Tony Vitello. Again, probably the biggest risk. To be honest with you, it wasn't a risk getting Devers because, heck, everybody would have done that. But the biggest risk is you're out there hiring a guy who hasn't done it before, and we'll see what happens. Look, all we could do is sit back and watch.
He hired a GM from within of a program with Farhan that we all hated.
Yeah. That's a fact.
Yeah,
that's a fact. So, and now it's going to be interesting to see what he does now. So if he's not afraid to take these risks, well, maybe he makes a big move. Maybe he signs a Tucker. Maybe he trades an Eldridge. I would not be surprised if that happens. I wouldn't. What I can't sit there and sit here before you guys and say it's definitely going to happen. No one can. The only people who know that are the people who are close to Buster Posey. But let's see what happens, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in this offseason. And look, we started off with a bang. Who saw? I mean, I didn't. Did you see Tony Vitello, Lou?
No, but his name was one of the original 5. You know, he was, and people are like, who the hell is this guy, Tony V? And then the college coach, oh, we're not doing that. You know what I mean? But he was one of the original 5 that came out. And then, of course, you know, we had new flavors of the month. And then all of a sudden, boom, you know, he was there. But it's, you know, one of the things now, I keep seeing in the chat, a lot of guys saying the Giants' new pitching coach is former Anaheim Angel, Troy Portugal.
No one knows who the pitching coach is.
Yeah, I don't know why they keep talking about him.
There's no pitching coach. There's no one, unless people are just throwing out their ideas.
And have we been told, because I didn't see it, Pat the Bat gone?
He's gone.
Is that one of his? Okay.
Everyone's
gone. Okay.
Everybody is gone. The only person I know, I think, is there's one hitting coach.
They don't have the San Francisco Chronicle anymore, or the green section, so I can't catch up on that. You know?
That's right.
It's one of those things.
Okay, I put it out there. I got a poll out there.
Beautiful.
Would you trade Eldridge for a starting pitcher? Again, all that does, it gives you a good pitcher that you need. But in turn, you're also getting Kyle Tucker. So you're replacing Eldridge with Tucker. And then instead of using that money to spend for a starting pitcher, you invested into Tucker, but then you get that starting pitcher from the trade of Eldridge. So we'll have to see it.
And I think getting a player, spending the money on a player is worth a lot more than the starting pitcher. Anything can happen to a starting pitcher, you know?
Yes, it's a lot more. There's a lot more risk in a starting pitcher.
He maybe starts 30 games where you get a superstar. He starts 150 games. So it's a great point, Eric.
Yeah. And it's just a different way where you could get more guys on your club if you want to compete. Now, we'll see. It could very well be just it could very well just be Scherzer, Ha-Seong Kim, and Tyler Rogers. It could also be as underwhelming as that as well. But yeah, so the Giants need a hitting coach, a pitching coach, a bullpen coach, and third base coach, and a bench coach. So we'll have to see. Skeens and Scooble for Eldridge? Yes, his senior. Oh, I know, dude. Would that be something? For
them to get Scooble, well, for them to get Schemes, they'd have to give up probably 3 players on the major league roster, Eldridge and maybe somebody else.
Eldridge is going to be
going after the creme of la creme.
Yeah, I know. And here's the thing, Lou, what happens if you do trade for a Skeens or a Scooble, you're also going to have to fill those holes because it's going to involve Eldridge, which isn't really a hole yet, but you're probably going to have to give up Roop and Ramos and probably some other prospects. So you're creating more holes. So who knows? Maybe he won't be that much. Skeens would be more than Scooble, but who knows? Did you see the proposal that the Mets would give to Scooble? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. That's
the other thing too, is we want these great players, but we keep forgetting there's 23 other teams that also want these great players.
And look,
that might even have more than Eldridge to give. You know, I remember last year on Dan's show, we all talked about the Baltimore Orioles, how many young studs they have. So you got to remember also teams, you know, we all talk about Eldridge. Oh, we traded for maybe these other teams don't think Eldridge is high as us, you know, so why didn't I go to maybe someone like Baltimore, you know, and it's a different position player. You know, we all talk about Eldridge. We're not even sure what his position is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is he a first baseman? No. Is he an outfielder?
Are they going to make an outfielder?
You know, you just don't know. So there's still a lot of question marks. When you go, these other teams, that's what they're also thinking. You know, hey, if we're going to give up our chip, our main chip, they want youth, guys that are cheap, and a couple of studs. Because let me ask you this. If you trade Schemes and you trade that other Pittsburgh guy who I like, I think it's a number 3 starter who's only making, I think, $16 million a year. Why would you even go to a Pittsburgh Pirates baseball game?
Yeah, the only reason why you go there is because of Paul Skeens.
Yeah. So that's the other thing too, is that's why when they give up their guys, they don't want to pay the money and they want to get other guys. Now I see Mike Vale, see like Hunter Green for Bryce. I think we'd have to give another person, but imagine Bryce, if he is as good as we think he is in that ballpark, not Oracle where Triples Alley, where he's going to be oracled out, where he might get 25 homers. He might hit 50 in that little ballpark at Cincinnati. That's why Cincinnati would say, okay, we got Hunter for a couple more years. He might leave, but God, we could have Eldridge. And you got to remember, they're thinking we get Eldridge now in case we lose our super stud in 2 years, where he might go to the Dodgers, right? As his free agency. So that's what teams are thinking. They're not just thinking next year. They're thinking down the line. That's why we all talk about how good the Dodgers are. They're already thinking 2, 3, 4 years down the line, because you got to remember, you take Ohtani out, those guys are starting to get a little bit old, Freeman, you got to remember, he played 10 years with the Braves. He's not going to be youthful every year. So they're trying to think, okay, we're good now with Ohtani. We're going to have to get, other players. You know what I mean? That's why
I get you.
It's one of those things.
They'll be looking forward. The Dodgers ain't going to stop. Dodgers ain't stopping.
Yeah.
But here's the thing too. I see Mark talking about Sprout, Tong, Beatty, and Jet Williams for Scooble. He says no way. Yeah, that's way too much. But here's the thing. Hey, Chico State, I see what you said out there. Appreciate you, man. While everybody is going to be going after the starting pitcher for free agents, that's why I'm saying you go towards a trade. No one is going to maybe see that coming, because you got the Mets who are going to want starting pitching. I'm reading that the Reds are looking for top of the rotation starting pitching. The one team you don't have to worry about for starting pitching is the Dodgers, because their starting pitching is already established. Padres, you may not have to worry about them, because I don't think they're going to be spending as much money. They're going to be there. I think they're not going to be spending as much as they have been. But then but the thing is, Atlanta Braves. Who knows what the Atlanta Braves. I know they picked up the option on Chris Sale, which is a smart move, of course. That was a no-brainer. But these teams are going to be better next year, right? You Atlanta Braves, you think they're going to have a shitty year like they did last year? No. You think the Mets are going to have a shitty year like they did last year? No. Cubs aren't going to go away. Reds are young. They're not going to go away. Brewers are still there. Of course, now you got the Dodgers and the Padres, and don't forget the Diamondbacks, because they're a pretty good team. And the Phillies, and the Phillies are still. So this is who the Giants are going to have to go against. So if you're going to want to compete against these guys, then you're going to have to go do something pretty damn drastic in the offseason if you want to compete.
And you got to remember, there might be guys in our division for the Padres or specifically Arizona. We have no clue who they are. Their superstar, their Eldridge might be coming up to the major leagues next year. It's one of those things where, we know about our farm system. 99% of the chat has no clue about any of these other teams' farm systems. Okay. That's just the way it is. We're fans of our own. I think somebody Fuji brought up a great one. Beside Eldridge, which other prospect of the Giants has value? We just don't know. And that's the biggest problem where we trade, because if the Giants want to improve, they're probably going to have to give somebody up on their major league roster. And that's the thing, is we fall in love with our guys, but you got to remember, we're a 500 team with what we have. If we're going to get better, sometimes we have to give up something that might be tough.
Yes.
But if we can improve the team, that's what it's all about.
Yes, correct. Absolutely. Let me get to these super chats. Thanks for hitting that there, Lou. $2 from Fuji. So besides Eldridge, what other prospect has value? Again, I mean, are the Giants wanting to get position players by trading a pitcher? I don't know if you want to do that. I think you want to get starting pitching with, but who knows? You got Winston Hunt. I don't know how much value you have. Roop will probably have some value because he showed something last year, even the year before, with how in his first experience in MLB was pretty good until he got injured. The good thing about Roop is he just had injury, and it wasn't like it was an elbow, but it wasn't like a significant elbow. But it didn't. He never showed where he couldn't do it. He had the tools. Now Birdsong, he had no injury, but boy, he just fell apart. I don't know what the hell happened. You got the Bo Davidson in AA. Maybe he's a guy that could draw some attention. We would have to look at I could bring it up here a little bit, what the top 30 prospects are in the Giants organization. And again, maybe teams are scouting, and that's the thing. Other teams are going to be scouting other teams to see what they have and see where their value is. And, hey, yeah, we might want this guy for this position, whatever it may be. It's something that is done internally within each club to, what is their wants and their desires as compared to what they would have to trade for. Fuji also donates another $2. Japan, an agent could only have one client at a time. I don't know what. Fuji, you're going to have to elaborate. I don't know what that means. JB donates $5. Australian. Thank you, sir. How to influence good free agent starters to the Giants? Have a closer role on lock. Sign Edwin Diaz. Please and thank you. Building an entertainment roster. And look, I think the Giants are going to go get JB. They're going to go get a closer. I don't know if it's going to be Edwin Diaz. I would be okay with Devin Williams. Look, if you want to spread the money around and not sink your money all in one guy, again, take advantage of defer. The Giants have to. You got to take a page out of the Dodgers playbook. And look, and it's not just the Dodgers. Other teams have done deferments. But the Giants need to do that, man. If you go out there and you offer freaking Tucker $400+ million, well, you defer half of it, something like that, whatever. Figure out something. And then it leaves you more breathing room if you don't want to go over the CBT. Then you can go out there and get some other guys. But to your point, yeah, the Giants have to get a closer. Whether it's Edwin Diaz, whether it's Robert Suarez, whether it's Devin Williams, a trade. I don't know if there'll be a trade for a closer, but there's different ways to improve the run. Lou, this is the time of the year where it's two things that can improve your roster. It's either signing a big free agent or you're making a big trade. That's how teams are going to improve the roster this year. For the offseason. I mean, that's like, I'm not saying anything earth-shattering here. I mean, this is what happens on every offseason. Who are going to be the teams that are out there that's going to be somewhat aggressive, build up a team, and see what happens. And I keep coming back to this, Lou, and you tell me if I'm wrong. Giants don't trade for Devers if they're just going to just say, okay, we're just good. Right?
It's almost like starting the process. It's like, I'll use as an analogy in dating. God, that girl is so hot. I want to be with her. Well, then you got to take a step to complete the process. To me, they took on the money because they thought that might have been the only thing holding them back. Obviously, they realized they need more. Okay. And they didn't take we traded a couple players. One of them we didn't want, so we got lucky. The other one, Harrison, he might be good in 5 years. We don't know. If you remember, he only played, I think, 2 games after the trade. He was in AAA, and then they used him as a reliever. And that's the thing with the Giants. If I'm going to give Buster any credit, he did trade a guy in Harrison that the fans sort of loved. He's our future. Behind him. Yeah. But again, look what we got in return. I know we had to sign the big money and everything, but you got to give up good pieces to get great pieces. It's one of those things, and I think the Giants, Devers was a trade, but I'm sort of expecting them to do something just a step bigger. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying, right?
I think we're due for something, because beside Devers, I think why it was such a big trade is the Giants probably in the last 10 years haven't really made that superstar deal.
Not free agency wise.
No. Or a big trade. That was a trade just because it was a guy with a big contract, But I see Eric, and he says Bob Nightingale said that, where is that thing? That the Padres might trade Tatis. I don't know if you saw that. So,
no, I didn't hear about that one.
The thing about that is if the Padres are going to give Tatis, you got to remember one thing. He has a big contract. I would love the Giants to get him, but his contract, I think, is like 8 more years, 300 million. Yeah. But when you get him, you could do 2 things. It takes care of a right fielder and a leadoff guy. One of the things we're talking, I know we're going to get back to pitching, but the Giants, we still don't have a leadoff guy. Last year we had 3 different guys leading off. One guy isn't even on the team anymore. So
you know what you could do, and I fixed that. This is what I'm saying. Ha-Seong Kim, if you go sign Ha-Seong Kim's not going to cost you a lot. He could be your leadoff hitter, and then you could start the bevy of your boppers, whether it's Devers and look, if you got Devers and Adames and Tucker, and then you move Chapman down, or you got Ramos and then Chapman, you move Chapman further down. Adames is going to be okay a little bit further up because he's shown that he's got some pop. You'd want to see a little bit more of an average. But could you imagine Ha-Seong Kim, Rafi Devers, Willie Adames, Kyle Tucker, Elliot Ramos, whoever else? Then you got Chapman down in the 6th or the 7th.
Now you're saying
now you're doing something.
This team might only need another starter to be
and then you trade Eldridge because you don't need Eldridge because you got Tucker, and then you got your starting pitcher. Then you go out there and you sign a closer. Again, it would be awesome. It would be awesome. Yeah. I mean, we're sitting here. This is what off season's all about. It's just going out there and having a wish list. But man, heck, you can bat. I don't care where Tucker bats. I just want him on the team, man. God dang. But no, do you see what I'm saying? That lineup is a deep lineup. That's a deep lineup.
And you have a few guys that can carry the team for a while. I thought this year there was so much pressure on Devers. He's going to carry the team because Adames wasn't carrying the team.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
I know, Victor. I know, dude. I know. I do this every year. I do it every year, but I can't keep coming on here and just not wishing for the best. That would suck. That would suck, man. I hope the Giants do something big, man. I do. This would be absolutely insane. Oh my gosh. We'll see. We'll see. Look, we're only in the infancy of the offseason. Oh my gosh. Thanks, Ocean.
And Eric, about your show. I didn't mean to bring other stuff up because I know this show is specifically about starting pitchers, but with the offseason,
no worries,
it's always hard to stick to one topic.
It's
always impossible to stick to one topic because
you can't.
The one great thing about baseball is you talk about something which could mean something else before you know it, you've gone 20 minutes the other way and you haven't answered the main question. You know, it was Joe Ryan.
Right.
You know, it just seemed so long ago. So
I know, and you know, I honestly go out there and go get a guy, man. And then look, these are just names. You talked about Hunter Green. That would be a huge one. I just don't know if the Reds would get rid of him because, again, he's got a lot of years to control. And look, Reds got into the playoffs last year. They didn't do shit in the playoffs.
And he was out for a while.
Yeah, he was out for quite a while. But if you go out there, again, it eliminates what the trade does. It eliminates the Giants having to spend a lot of money on a starting pitcher. And then you could use that money on a position player because it will, even though they're long ass contracts and the last 3 or 4 years may be abysmal, you don't have as a bigger risk than you do with with a pitcher throwing out his elbow. So we'll see, man. Will Buster Posey, and again, Buster Posey isn't afraid of risks, and he's taken quite a few leaps. Gosh, Hunter Green would be something. Guy's a flamethrower from the right side.
And he's complete opposite of Webb, which I really like. So then, you know, you go right, left, right. Now you have 3 guys. And both, the other thing too, is we praise Webb because he's an inning eater. Yeah. Hunter Green's the same way. You know, if you look at his stats, the guy averages like, you know, almost 200 innings. He's like a Webb. He just strikes out a few more players. You know, you get that up. When the Dodgers come to town, they're scared. Like, who are we playing? Hopefully it's the rotation of just, we only have to get one of them. But when you have to go against 2 studs like that, it's pretty amazing, especially if you have a team that's like an all right-hand lineup. You know, you go against Hunter Green, oh my God, these fastballs, the guy throws 96 this, and then you get Webb where the ball drops. You know, it takes, the hitters are going to be like, you know, this is tough. But that's why that's why only a few people can play baseball. It's extremely, extremely tough. You know, as Glenn would say, If it was easy, everyone could do it. But
Yeah,
when you get
that's
these
a
pitchers
fact.
that are so different, like Hunter Green, he's more like intimidation on the mound, fastball, the ball sinks. Webb's not really known as a strikeout pitcher, not because of his fastball, because his ball drops. His ball, he's sort of like almost an all-around Greg Maddux.
In other words, you're seeing different looks.
Yeah,
Hunter
different
Green,
angles, different everything. Yeah.
Freddy Peralta is the same way. He throws it hard. Sandy Alcantara, to a certain extent, throws hard. But then you got Webb, who's an out there. He's a magician. He has that sinker, and now he's got that four-seam fastball, which gets people a little bit flummoxed. And then you got that crazy slider and the changeup that just darts all over the place, right? Makes guys look foolish. So go out there, go get another guy, man. Go get out another. And if you want to sign Scherzer too, go for it. Sign him for a $6 million. I mean, come on. Dan's asking a question. Thoughts on what Bruce Bochy said about Buster hiring Tony? Honestly, I could care less. Honestly, it might sound bad, but he's a special assistant to Buster Posey. Since when is a special assistant to any president of baseball operations leads to anything?
First of all, how many specialists?
It's an honorary position, right?
There's more special assistant for the Giants than ball players that play for the San Francisco Giants.
How about players? Let's get some players.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's just me. I've never seen so many special assistants. I mean, what does Dusty Baker bring? He's a special assistant. He's
been a special assistant forever. Hey, let's not forget, Bruce Bochy was a special assistant to Farhan Zaidi in 2021 to 2020. No, from 2020 to 2022, he was a special assistant to Farhan Zaidi. What did that lead to? Nothing. Well, Farhan's going to do his own thing. Does Buster Posey listen to him a little bit more? Maybe, but it's Buster Posey. This is his gig. He's the boss, and he has special assistants. Look, it just gives advice. That's all it is. It doesn't mean that Bruce Bochy's going to be in the dugout. It doesn't mean Dusty Baker's in the dugout. They're just giving advice. That's it. What's Bochy going to say? Tony Vitello was the worst guy I've ever heard. He's not going to say that. When you're in that position, you're not going to go and dog on the guy that the guy that just made you a special assistant. You're not gonna talk bad about it. Look, and
how do we know about Tony when it's never been done?
It hasn't. Nobody knows. We know what he's done in college, and that's great. I'm not taking away from that. The guy is a winner in college. That's fantastic. We don't know how that will translate into the big leagues. We'll find out. We're going to find out. It's going to be an experiment. It's a risk. We all could say that. It's all a risk. And and let's see what happens.
And Bochy's old school. Tony's not going to be old school baseball.
Yeah, this is not old school baseball. It's not. It's different baseball. It's 100% different baseball, man. Period. And we'll see. Let's see I want to see who Tony Vitello has as coaches. Everyone was dogging on coaches all year. Got to get Pat Burrell out of there, right? How many times did we hear that? It was daily when the Giants were in
Matt
the
Williams.
Right, Matt Williams. We got to get rid of him. Everybody was focusing on coaches.
Coach. Why is our defense running so bad? Oh, it was just unbelievable.
Where's the manager? Well, now, guess what? You can't
never blame the players. We only blame the coaches.
Yes. So you got to do the same for Tony. All those people who are dogging on Pat Burrell and Matt Williams. Well, guess what? You're going to have to do the same when Tony Vitello, hires his coaches. And if they have any screw ups. Now, I was the one that was on the show. I didn't put a lot of credence into coaching. I didn't because the players got to go out there and they got to go out there and execute. Right. But to that point, you still have to have a staff. You still have to have a team together that's going to drive to the same goal, which is, hey, we're going to get into the damn playoffs, hopefully win the division, and go out there and get win World Series trophy. So let's see how it plays out. None of us have any idea of how this is going to turn out. It's going to be interesting. He goes on to say, Bochy loves the move. Yeah. Wins champ, you say. Suppose he's thinking that led to. Well, yeah. I mean, he was the catcher for 3 World Series, but it didn't rest on Buster Posey. It was the entire team. But don't get me wrong. Buster Posey was an instrumental part on why the Giants won 3 World Series.
I thought some of the moves they did at the trade deadline.
Let's talk about it. Yeah. Hey, Brian Sabian. Brian Sabian was an absolute genius in putting together a roster. in those 3 years. I mean, he's done it beyond that. But talking about the World Series years, he put those rosters together. The leadership under Bruce Bochy was a huge factor. If he didn't push the right buttons going to the bullpen, there would be no championships in
his mind, the way he ran the bullpen, and I know we had the core four, but you guys got to remember, they invented a new rule because of Bochy. You guys got to remember, Bochy would bring in 4 relievers for 4 batters. It was unheard of back then. He did it so he would have the advantage, but baseball's changed. Now different. You got the three batter rule. Everything's different, so it's one of those things. And I think, Eric, one of the things I'm reading about Mr. Postman, you got to remember some of the Giants moves have cost us because we have to give up picks. Last year, I think we lost a round 2 pick. And the season
before that, I think they lost 4.
Season before, 4. So I think Buster wants to do it so he doesn't lose picks because he knows the future is the Giants' future, with the farm system.
Yes, and people keep forgetting about this, and it's coming up soon, in about a month. Maybe I can't remember. It's towards the end of December. I think it's in the middle of December. You have the international draft. Everyone focuses on what's going on in July, but don't forget about what happens in December. And that's where the Giants last year, they went out and got Joe Sarr. That guy is supposed to be something. This year, they're on track to sign the number 1 pick again. And that's huge. If the Giants can hit in Latin America, look, everyone talks about the Dodgers and their link with Japan. And that's fantastic. That is a resource for them. Well, the Giants, they got an academy, right, in the Dominican Republic. So that's where you got to make your money on hitting on those internet in America. That could be the Giants, quote unquote, Achilles heel, could be their
but they're thinking outside the box to get youth, and it could be grown within, and that could be us where, hey, you watch, if this works and say the Giants get another prospect in 3 or 4 years, there'll be academies from every major league team down there. The Giants were the first.
Yes, so because of Felipe Alou. You got to use your strengths. You got a huge Latin history in the San Francisco Giants, and you cannot squander that. You got to use that as a force multiplier. Go out there and use that academy named after Felipe Alou, if I'm not mistaken. So you got to use that. Juan Marichal, Orlando Cepeda, the Alou brothers, you name them all, man. I mean, it was huge. And look, the Giants need to go back to that. I shouldn't say go back to that. They need to take advantage of that. And let's see what happens. All right, man. I think I'm ready to close it. Lou, this is a great conversation, man. We're going to have to
can I just say one thing? So I did run into Reggie Jackson. So
let's hear that.
Yeah, if that's all right. I'll just make it quick. So I was getting a latte, and there was this guy wearing a Reggie jacket. And I said, God, what a great looking jacket. And he goes, oh, yeah. And I said, hey, I assume it's for Mr. Jackson. And when he played in New York, he goes, yeah, why? And I said, well, he wore a different number when he played with the Oakland A's. I don't know if you're aware of that. And all of a sudden, this other guy puts up, and it was Reggie Jackson. And I said, hey, Reggie, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was you. I apologize. Hey, Lou Marston from San Francisco. I'm a big fan. Congratulations. I heard a rumor you love cars and enjoy, because they had a thing called SEMA while I was in Vegas out there. And he was actually a guest of 2 companies out there. So I said, what do you think of the World Series? And he said, I hated it. And I go, what? Didn't sort of have everything? He goes, no, being a player, it's different than being a fan. He goes, are you telling me if the old Yankees were in the World Series and they had a lead going into the 7th, they would have blown it? And do you think you'd ever be in a situation where you're using starters in the bullpen? And he thought, the new thing with baseball, it's ruined. And he goes, it's not just me. A lot of older guys liked baseball old school. They're just not adapting to the analytics. But he said, hey, if the one thing about like the Yankees, they never lost 2-0 leads. He goes, yeah, they lost the series when they were at 3-0 because they finally got to Rivera. But you got to remember, Boston probably faced him in those 2 years with another thing probably 100 times. You're going to get somebody eventually because you're a major leaguer. But he goes, they should have never have lost it. You should have never have done that. He goes, yeah, it was a great series, but being a player, analytics has ruined it. And I was sort of frustrated. He goes, if you remember this series, Lou, there were mistakes all over the place. You being a fan, yeah, you loved it. But if you're one of the players, you'd be frustrated. Imagine if you're a Toronto Blue Jays fan, how frustrated you'd be. You're trying to tell me a guy that was batting ninth hit a homer should never have happened. And I said, yeah,
never happened.
I'm sort of sorry I asked the question, but that's the difference. Old school compared to new school. That's the only reason why I wanted to bring it up. And, the thing with the Giants is we keep talking about 3 and 5 years. Guys, that was over a decade ago. Okay? A decade ago. We got to think about what we've done in the last 3 or 4 years and what our future is, because baseball's changed. The Giants now have out of desperation sort of said, Buster, can you handle it?
Yeah.
So now Buster, being an old school player, is going to have to handle the analytics. And that's probably why he had our GM promoted within, because he didn't know, probably that much. Because when Buster played, it wasn't all about analytics, So he's learning on the fly. I think that's the one problem with the Giants is we're a couple years behind, and it sort of cost us. We're trying to get sort of the quick fix, but not the fix over the next 5 or 6 years. And other teams are thinking that way, and I mean, we have a prospect that we're hoping with Eldridge. The next best prospect, you bought up Johnson, is this guy who we got last year who's only 17. By the time he makes it to the major leagues, my God, we might not even be around. You know what I mean? Because they just take a while to get here.
Yeah, it takes a while.
So I just think it takes a while. So one of the things the Giants got to do, and again, I know the last couple of years we were hoping to be a third place team, but I think they need that jolt. And I asked Reggie, Reggie, you were with the A's and you were with the Yankees. What was the biggest difference? I know you were on some of the greatest teams. He said, I had more pressure with the Yankees because when the A's, you don't realize it, we actually probably had 7 Hall of Famers that should be Hall of Famers on that team. Sal Bando, and he just Joe Rudy. He goes, we had Raleigh Fingers. I didn't have to really do everything. Yeah, yep. I didn't really have to do everything. When I was with the Dodgers, when I left the A's, where literally I was sort of a team of teammates, I went to the Angels. I was really the only guy left. You know what I mean? He brought up a good point. And I said, hey, I'm a big Giants fan. What do you think the Giants could do? He goes, the Giants are like a compass. You just move it, it goes all around. They got to have a plan. They got to do a thing, because it's easy to tell the fans, hey, we're going to go for it. And then we keep missing out. So he goes, Buster brought up a great point. Buster did at least get Devers, right? That's at least one step. But as you bring up, Eric, if you don't get another one, it's almost like a wasted opportunity. And how long is it going to be before you get that another chance? And he said the thing about with the A's is we had so many superstars and we had a horrible ownership. I said, okay. He goes, with the Yankees, it was one thing and one thing only.
Steinbrenner.
He goes, it was but all he wanted to do was win. It never came about money. Tell me what you want. How can we improve the team? And I think the Giants talk a big game, but they have to sort of go for it like they're a big team. We're in the 5th biggest market. Last year, they did 3 million fans. We finished 500. So what they should be saying, okay, how can we go 5 to 7 games over 500? Because maybe next year, that's the playoff team. You just never know. And he goes, that's sort of what the Giants, and at least if I was doing, that's what they got to start doing.
And to your point,
but he just brought up a difference, A's. Yeah.
To your point, you're bringing in the fans. If you're bringing in 3 million people, you're entertaining to a certain extent. You know what you're missing? And Buster Posey said it a million times: winning. So let's go out there. You already got the support of the fans, so go out there. And he talked about that, letting the fans down. You brought it up a few times, Lou, at the end of the season. So go out there and put a team together that is going to win. So those 3 million people who come and watch your product, you're walking away seeing quite a bit of wins rather than losses, right? So go out there, as you said, you're you're not cash poor. You got money. You could always make more, right? I mean,
and
go out there.
Perfect example of what Reggie said is look at the Dodgers. I know they had Ohtani, but you got to remember, if you take away that game where literally, well, I think it was 2 games where he went ballistic, like 11 for 13 with 6 homers and 5 RBI, 5 RBIs at every at bat. It seemed like he had a team behind him. Who hit the biggest homer for the Dodgers? When you really think about it in the World Series, it wasn't Ohtani. Mm-hmm. It was just their catcher or, their center fielder.
Will Smith had a good series.
Will Smith is huge, but, we don't think of him as a superstar. But him on that team become a superstar because they don't need him to be the 1, 2, or 3rd option. That's what I mean by the Giants. We got to lengthen our lineup. Just like we all love Webb, but imagine if we could lengthen our starting pitchers, or instead of last year where we had 2, maybe 2.5 pitchers, we get another starter. Now we're 3, maybe 4. And what that does is it helps you where we were going 4 innings and we were happy. 5 innings. How about get pitchers that go 6 innings? That's 1 less inning the bullpen has to do, and if you get 7, it's a blessing. And, that's all he was trying to say. And he goes, look at the machine. And I said, no, I understand. I still go to the games. And it's hard because Reggie's very old school. He doesn't like analytics. And, you got to remember, he's Mr. October. So he knows what it takes, to get through. Like, his buddy goes, dude, the guy hit 3 homers on 3 pitches, 3, and 2 of them were knuckleballers. Okay. So don't tell me you're not a great hitter when you hit 2 knuckleballs and then, it's just amazing. So, I'm just going to take that to heart where the Giants, Eric, you brought up a great point. We make the Devers trade. They need to make another one or that trade is sort of wasted.
It's wasted.
He had a real rough time, as you said, maybe it's because came from a different setting. He might have had a best friend in Boston that we didn't know about. Right. Now he's with new
with the
guys.
Organization since he was 16.
When you go so that's the same thing where Webb might be the same problem where if they ever trade Webb to another team, just throwing it out there, he might not be the same pitcher because he's used to the Giants way. But what we need to do is get Giants where, people forget in the 70s, we had 4 guys, 4 aces. We were on Sports Illustrated. This is when Jim Barr, Ed Halicki, Montefiusco pitched, where the Giants were known for their starting pitching. Right now for the last couple of years, you take the World Series, except for Webb, what other starting pitchers really been known? Guys that we let God away were our starting pitchers.
Kevin
more
Gausman.
Well-known than Webb. So I just think the Giants got to get back. And I think that's where Buster, being the former catcher, and if he wants to bring something back, one of the things growing up is you always had your favorite player's jersey. Right now, Glenn, we obviously know Flores is his favorite player because he had, the old school jersey, the Tuesday night, the City Connect jersey. But the Giants don't have these players that you can actually fall in love with. I'm hoping next year, you get to see these great players where you see the same jerseys out there. Right now, when you go to see the Giants jerseys, fan of 280 years, of Giants baseball, you have more fans out there of Kuiper and
Krug
and Kuip jerseys out than ball players. We got to get back where, hey, they're getting the fans, reward the fans. This year wasn't a great team. As I brought up on Dan's show, probably the 2 most famous homers were from Bailey. And everyone says he sucks offensively, but he had the 2 biggest homers of the year. One was an inside the park 3-run homer. That was the most amazing thing. Watch that video. It gives you chills.
It does.
And then, of course, the slam against the Dodgers. But we need more of, the team effort, guys that are going to surprise us. We don't want guys like Eldridge to come up to let us down because we're so desperate to get these guys. We want superstars on our team. We'll do anything, for a Scooble, for 100 Green. We want a guy that's a stud that's going to shut the other team down. And then the Giants, who's going to come up and get the big hit,
Exactly.
we don't have that, Timmy, Mad Bum. Maybe the problem is we were just really spoiled where we had a few guys that were actually studs. And they're not the easiest to come by. But, Eric, I think you might have a great point tonight. If you don't make another big move, the Devers trade, it's just wasted. It is. All it is another big contract. So we need another one. And how great that would be where our lineup, instead of maybe 4 deep, automatically just with one player becomes 7, maybe 8 deep. And that's a great point.
Yes. All right, let's get the heck out of here. We'll be back on Wednesday. And you guys enjoy the rest of your Monday night. Lou, thanks for hanging out. And again, to all the veterans out there, because I won't be on tomorrow.
Sorry, Glenn, but I'm here to help out.
Glenn will be back with us when he's back from Mexico. But yes, for all the veterans out there, again, enjoy your day tomorrow for Veterans Day. Again, salute all you veterans out there. Country wouldn't be without our veterans. That's a damn fact. All right, guy. Hey, speaking of making that lineup deeper, more potent, as you say, let's end with this. All right, guys. Lou, thanks again, and guys, enjoy the rest of your Monday night. Woo!
You've been watching Giant Sports Talk Live with Eric and Glenn, a Northern Lights Entertainment Broadcasting production.